This is about the 14th time I've tried to do this review. Thor is seated right here. He has been rather insistent and grumpy throughout this whole review process. However, he is now calmish. So I'm going to try to get through this. Now, on the one hand, it works really well because I actually want to start doing better about doing shorter videos since I know people have a limited time and I can ramble if I'm not careful. So for today, let's just cut right to it. I'm doing a review for Janeen Ippolito's If Wishes Were Curses, a Steel City Genie book. And this is book 1. Now, it's urban fantasy romance and it is such a delight. To sum up the plot without hopefully giving any spoilers, even though it can be a little bit hard to do, Alice is the main character. This whole story is told from her perspective, first person, in that fun way where we get to really engage with the personality. It revolves around her misadventures as a romantic investigator who does some odd jobs on the side, including working with her brother on their potions and cleaning business and all sorts of fun things there. But the story really focuses at first on this romantic investigation and some of the mischief that comes about from that. You see, Alice is a genie, but she's actually a little bit of a cursed genie. She has curse marks bound on her arms and such that prevent her from accessing her full magic, but that doesn't keep her from, figuring things out about people, doing a little bit of teleportation, a little bit of telekinesis here and there, all sorts of great things. And she winds up meeting a stranger named Cendric, who turns out to be a raven-shifting vampire, which I have to put that in there, and she has the strangest feeling that she's met him before. And I'm not going to spoil that for you, except to say that this story does feature an excellent twist on the love at first sight and true love tropes. Very nicely done there. But also what ends up happening is that she accidentally on purpose kills a grizzly shifter with vampiric tendencies. Or I don't want to spoil anything more, but it feels like a vampire, but it's in a grizzly bear's body, and it's a shifter. And that's very bad because, the shifters, they've got their own customs, their own laws, and they don't like people killing their own kind. They're a little bit territorial. And the court of the Fae end up determining that Alice is guilty. In fact, they're going to sentence her, death, life. It's not going to go well for her at all. But she ends up being able to get out of this through a little bit of legal trickery, which is quite fun. And the adventure begins because what is going on that this grizzly was trying to come after her, and how could a shifter have this sort of a connection? Now, like I said, I don't want to give spoilers, and that's the hardest part with this story, because Janeen just interweaves all of these little twists and turns, and it's 100% delightful. I plan on reading this story again and the other stories. So without spoilers, I will just get into some of the things that I really appreciated in this. First of all, the world building. It is quite immersive. In many respects, it's sort of what I was hoping for from Bright, in which you have these supernatural and fantastical races that are living alongside humans. Vampires, elves, leprechauns, kitsunes, shifters of all types. And when I say all types, we've got otters, we've got grizzly bears, we've got, I think, pretty much all of the animals on the spectrum are probably involved in this world. Not to mention, some of your more nefarious vampires and such like that, which is really quite fascinating because they're interwoven within our culture, human culture. In fact, humans seem to be somewhat aware of them. There are sensitives, humans who are part of, these they're not fully human, but they're not, I guess, otherworldly enough, we might call them, to actually be able to tap into a lot of those abilities. And this story really at its core is dealing with love in many different forms, but also that desire to love and be loved in return. And it's all wrapped up in this action-packed, comedy-filled at times, and also very tense story. Now, I have my notes on here, and I just am going to give you some little details on here. Like I mentioned, Cendric is a vegetarian vampire attorney, and there's also an evil vampire attorney. And I have to admit, I laugh. There are so many fantastic jokes that you can make from that, and as an attorney, I do approve of them, including the bad puns. And that is one of the things I want to note, that Janeen has a fantastic sense of humor that is woven throughout. It's a little bit dry at times. It's sometimes all of this wordplay and very funny. It's snarky, and it's heartwarming, and it goes back and forth. And you know, the comedy is interwoven quite deftly, so it never feels like it's taking over the story. It's only in the places where it fits, and it often reveals more about the characters. And I enjoyed that. The bickering between them and the banter never gets to that point of, oh my goodness, just get on with it, you two. And they also don't destroy the moments where there are more meaningful points. I also appreciated the fact that this take on, you know, true love and love at first sight, not only does it have a bit of a twist to it, but because of the development of the characters, it feels very natural. So even if there hadn't necessarily been the explanation in the story for why these two are together and why it works, I feel like I still would have bought it. And that's very, very good to have within the story. The other aspect within this are familiar relationships. I really appreciated Gideon, who is Alice's brother. And yeah, I guess half-brother would be the more appropriate term. And it was interesting because technically they come from a situation where the two of them should have really been a little bit more against one another if you went with more of your stock family setting. But in this case, both Alice and Gideon are very close to one another. They're a lot of fun. And you know, I thought that Janeen did a great job of encapsulating this otter personality within an individual without overplaying it and while still making it a lot of fun. And yeah, I have to admit, when you're dealing with shifters who tend to turn a little bit smaller, it can be very easy to cutesify them if you're not careful. And Janeen did a wonderful job of actually making sure that these still had personalities and that their animal form made sense to who they were. So all in all, it's a very quick read. I just flew through it. There are more books coming, but this one has a very satisfying end. In fact, it's actually a very nice end in that pretty much all of the important things are wrapped up, so you won't be left going, wait, what about? You know, you'll have a few things that you want to see more of, but your important issues, they're all resolved. So I thought that was great. It's definitely a very satisfying conclusion, and let's see, what was my other note for myself here? Yes, I just want to mention this probably has one of the most affectionate settings, or one of the most affectionate descriptions of Pittsburgh. I really enjoyed the setting overall and the way that she wove it all together and made it feel like a very real place. Most of the time when I see Pittsburgh referred to in stories, it's in a diminishing or a mocking way, and this one is a genuinely affectionate way. It's a place that has its own personality, and that's fantastic. I think that seeing those sorts of affections really adds to this voice overall. Now, in terms of who is this for? Well, if you enjoy urban fantasy stories, absolutely. I would say even if you generally don't appreciate first-person narratives, you might want to give this one a try because Janeen really keeps it invested in that personality, and it avoids a lot of the more problematic elements of first person. The writer in me is noticing, oh, look at the sentence variety and how the thoughts are incorporated in different ways. So it has the flow of third person narrative while being in first person, which very nicely done. The other people who will really enjoy this, if you are one of my readers who follow me from Wattpad and you enjoyed Lunar Realms, 100% go out and get this. First of all, Janeen does genies better than mine, and she does raven-shifting vampires better than mine. I think you will absolutely adore this series. It's exactly what you ordered. And the great thing is, it's finished and out there. So definitely pick it up. And you know, if you enjoy urban fantasy and enjoy sort of that big city with different elements and maybe some not so traditional characters included in this, I think you'll really enjoy this one as well. The romance in it is handled quite neatly in terms of the introduction and the way that it builds and that it ultimately pays off. Great chemistry between the leads, and as far as steam, I think we're probably at about a 1 flame for your overall steam factor. And it was just a really, really fun story all in all. So definitely recommend it, and I plan on reading more of the books that Janeen puts out. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and hopefully Thor doesn't kill me in between now and the next review. Bye.